your seats. We'll get started in a minute. Welcome to the 35th Annual Miracle Mile Residential Association Community Meeting. My name is Jim Sullivan. I'm the president of the MMRA. Welcome. I think we're going to start right off with the neighborhood, what do we call it? And I want to introduce Kari. Kari's going to lead off. Kari, come on up and start this thing up. Councilman Rue is en route, I believe, and when he comes, he'll chime in or talk about whatever he wants to. Kari.
Good morning. Thank you all so much for coming. My name is Kari Garcia, and I am the chair for the Miracle Mile Neighborhood Watch program that we just are launching today. So, thank you all for coming. I know you're all here to hear about other issues, but you're most excited to hear about how we are changing how we neighbor in Miracle Mile. So maybe you have seen our ads on Nextdoor, maybe your block captain has notified you to come today, but thank you all very much for coming. And I want to first start off by thanking the MMRA, Jim Sullivan, Ken Hicks, and the entire MMRA board for allowing me and the volunteer committee I have to basically just push our way in and say we're here and this is what we're doing. I don't think they had a choice, so thank you very much. It's great to have a neighborhood association that supports you and is all for the betterment of the community, and it's been great for us for the past 6 months to really get organized. Myself and Kelly Perkins. Kelly is actually not on the committee, she's moving out of state. We will miss her, she did a lot. But I would like to introduce our committee members, and that is, along with myself, Eliza Duran, Tao Tran, and Seth Reed, who couldn't join us today. Thank you. LAPD is not able to make it today, which is a little bit of a disappointment, but no worries at all. But unfortunately, we actually had it lined up for Captain Odo to come. We had our senior lead officers ready to come, and a burglary detective. They had a death in their in Wilshire Division, an officer, not work-related, and so they are all at the funeral and will be unable to attend today. And I wish them well. I'm sorry that they couldn't be here for that reason. But I did ask if I could borrow their badge, and I think I got approval. I hope that's not on film. I've been working very closely with them for the past few months because Neighborhood Watch isn't just a little idea that a few of us had. It's not a knee-jerk reaction to crime in our neighborhood. It's something that's sustainable, and I've worked with LAPD and Patrol, and I've looked into what is the gold standard for Neighborhood Watch across America. And that is what I have put together along with Eliza, Tao, and Seth to create the Miracle Mile Neighborhood Watch program. So, why is the Neighborhood Watch program so important? Is that the clicker I get to use? Clicker and glasses. It's not easy anymore, but I'm going to try my best. The reason you're here today, besides Councilmember Rue coming, I know, is that you have heard about the crime, either you've been a victim of a crime. And before I start, can I see our block captains? Can you stand up if you're here today? I know a lot of people are down at the march. Yeah. Anyone, block captain representatives, thank you for coming. Thank you so much. You guys have no idea how much work you're going to do right now. Just kidding. You have no idea how important you are. Seriously, because it all comes back to the block. It all comes back to the block. And we're here today because there has been crime, not just in Miracle Mile, all over. But guess what? Miracle Mile is doing it differently than any other place. I have been to enough meetings. I have been to enough, that is really bright. I have been to enough meetings to tell you what happens is this. And I'm not psychic and I'm a mind reader, but what they do is they show up and they heard about a crime and they come and everybody comes. All of LAPD and all the council members, everybody. And all this amazing information is given out of what they can do, from lock their doors to buy the Ring doorbell. And everybody goes home and it keeps happening over and over again because why? We're not connected. So today we're proposing a plan. We're not even proposing, we're implementing. Like, this is it, we're doing it. And we're getting you on board. And it's going to help reduce crime and build community, because that is how you get rid of the crime. He said, there we go. All right, I'll stand over here. So Miracle Mile, the boundaries are Wilshire. This is really quick. We're going to get through Neighborhood Watch 101 real fast. I don't want to bore you. Some of you heard this before, but to me it's of course exciting. So we have Wilshire to the north, San Vicente to the south, to the east is La Brea, and to the west is Fairfax. If you live within those boundaries, you are part of a Neighborhood Watch. Wilshire Division has several units. They have 9 basic car units, and we, as Miracle Mile, have 2. We have Perry Jones as your senior lead officer and Hebel Rodriguez. And you can see the area outlined in red. The little tip down there, which covers like Orange, Meadowbrook, Sycamore, I'm not saying them in order, that is Hebel Rodriguez's area. The rest of Miracle Mile is Perry Jones. Your senior lead officers are very important people. We have not been utilizing them. We don't even know what SLO stands for, do we? Senior Lead Officer. They are the community relations aspect of your policing. They are very important, but we have not gotten organized so that they can do their job. By the way, these guys have emails, cell phones, they know what's going on, they do everything. They do everything. So here is the down and dirty on the crime stats. This is the comp stat. LAPD pulls this together. You can read it. You try to analyze it. The net, you can look at numbers. Crime is up. That's really what we need to know. How much is it up? It's 21% for burglaries. And I'll show you on the next slide. But the good news is the rest are also up by 53%. So it looks like out of the total property crimes, they have arrested 23, whereas last year it was 15. For 2016, excuse me. So burglary, this is just Wilshire Division. Wilshire Division, that covers the 9 basic cars. It goes all the way up to Melrose. It's a pretty decent active area. They have 1.6 they need to oversee people in the evening, 800,000 during the day. I have that flipped, 800,000 at night, 1.6 during the night. That's a large area to supervise. Burglaries are up about 21% if you look year to date from 2016 to 18. Total property crime is up 9%. And since December 24th, 253 burglaries in the Wilshire Division. So if you go to crimemapping.com, which is where I spend a lot of my time, and you put in a 1-mile radius from the center of Miracle Mile, this is what you get for the past 6 months. But then that looks a little overwhelming. So you analyze it, you break it down, and you spend a little too much time finding out exactly what happened in Miracle Mile. Attempted robbery, 1, 8 robberies, 19 theft from a vehicle, 14 vehicles that have been stolen, 3 attempted burglaries, and 40 burglaries. Well, 40 is a lot. A few of them are businesses on Wilshire. I haven't totally analyzed it. You can shave off a few, maybe 5 or 6 there, and then you also have a few repeat ones. Some of these also get recategorized after the investigator or the detectives have looked into the cases, so some of them change, but for the most part, this is pretty close. And this is pretty consistent with surrounding neighborhoods like Sycamore, Brookside, most of Greater Wilshire up to Melrose, other parts of Mid-City West. This is what's happening, unfortunately, so it's not just Miracle Mile. So what do these crimes look like? Well, they like to come and see if your car door can open. And when it doesn't, what do you think they do? They go everywhere else to check your car. And sometimes, twice. Don't know if you forgot that night. They also like to knock on your front door when you don't answer. They like to break in while you're at the gym, and then all of a sudden you come home from the gym, and then they jump your neighbor's fence and they're climbing out while somebody is in that home. They open up the gate because the gate locks one way, but thank God we didn't trap them in there. And out they go. It's a grainy picture there, but you'll see in a second. This is all caught on camera. So they're out, right? Right there. What are they doing? Take the hoodies off, they took the gloves off, and what do you think's coming up?
Next house.
No, not the next house, because they have a getaway car. They have a getaway car, and they get away. These guys were caught because we couldn't identify the license plate, but they were caught because of the description of the car and other evidence they left behind, and because of the video and because of the reporting. They ring your doorbell and pose as LA High students selling gift cards. LA High does not have children or students soliciting or selling gift cards. Do not open your door. We'll tell you more about that later. They like to loiter, smoke marijuana in public places. This affects the quality of life on your street and needs to be dealt with. They smash and grab things from your car. Why is crime on the rise in our neighborhood? I'm not going to go through this in detail, and there's studies out that would like to analyze everything. In the meantime, you tell me what you think about Assembly Bill 109, Proposition 4757, and an update to 57. But 109, all this is because our prisons are overpopulated, and the federal government mandated that California start releasing them. So they decided to release the ones that they decided to downgrade a felony to a misdemeanor, and then nonviolent criminals were let out. But then there was some legislation writing, blah, blah. And then 10,000 more sex offenders are now going to be out on the streets if they qualify because of language that was not or was written that wasn't used correctly with Assembly Bill 57. That was just voted on in February. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah. Speaking too fast? No. Not fast enough? So Proposition 64 leaves it. So all this, ratio of police to population, so we can all sit here and talk about how many LAPD we should have and that we don't have. And rising drug use and addiction, and there's a bunch of other reasons. There's also another reason. We are not organized. We have a lack of organized neighborhood communication, collaboration, and involvement towards the common goal of crime reduction and prevention. And that's you all and me. That's us, okay? So what are we as a community not doing? Well, we have a lack of awareness of the crime in our neighborhood. We are not reporting like we should be of what's suspicious behavior because we're kind of confused what's suspicious and what's not. We jump a little too quick to next door and start posting. We are over and underreacting to what we see because we're busy. Remember that? We also are not protecting our property adequately. 34% of us did not secure our property and basically put a welcome sign out instead of a patrol sign. No system is in place for communication among neighbors. So, I had a burglar on my property. I had a prowler. I've had my car broken into. And I did everything. Good morning, Councilmember. Did you want me to stop or are you going to? No. You're here for the show? Excellent. Okay. So I did everything to my property. And I was good. I was all fine. I didn't need to come and do this for the past 6 months and strong-arm block captains and manipulate committee members. But I realized that what I was doing was only taking care of myself, and my block needed my attention because I will be stronger as well, and I care for them. And then I reached out to the entire community. I'm like, why are we not doing this? So we also have something called island mentality, and I'll tell you about that in a second. And we also do the, sorry it happened to you. Oh God, I hope it doesn't happen to me. Really hope it doesn't happen to me, because I got a Ring doorbell, so I'm good. And I'm not mocking you. I am here to get you educated. The solution is a neighborhood watch. And it's not like, oh, I looked out for you and I secured my deadbolt. No, it's different. It's McGruff 2.0. You are not on an island, so when you sit at home and you do everything you can, and you see the Nextdoor.com, I love Nextdoor, and I also hate it, but it's very important that you don't just post on Nextdoor. You need to start thinking about other interventions and how you are going to interact with each other. We are a community. You are part of a community. Did I skip a slide? No. You are part of a community, whether you rent or own. Raise your hand if you're renting in the Miracle Mile area and love it and are never leaving. Woo! Here's to our renters. Raise your hand if you're a homeowner. Awesome. It's like 50-50. Fantastic. You are one among neighbors. When your block is active with a neighborhood watch, you will deter crime. You might make a few friends too. So what is a neighborhood watch? It is a group of neighbors who are focused on crime reduction by observation. Not vigilante, you're not getting involved. You are reporting suspicious behavior and taking measures to secure your property. It is an effective way to deter crime and improve the quality of life. This is how the structure works. Because before, remember you were on your island with your computer and you were just securing your home? But now you have a whole network, you have a whole system in place. So you help yourself and each other, and you have a way of communicating so that it bubbles up. It involves private patrol, it involves LAPD, and it involves somebody to organize it. And it goes around and around, and we're all speaking the same language, okay? So that your senior lead officer, Jones or Rodriguez, knows what's going on, can identify an issue, and it's not 15 of us saying, hey, there's an accident, there's a this, we got broken into. You've spoken to your block captain. That person has bubbled it up to either the senior lead officer directly or me, and we're all talking the same language and getting solutions. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. So what does it really mean? Because if you leave here, oh, neighborhood watch, I'm part of a neighborhood watch. Feel so secure, feel so safe. No, you're not. Okay, the graphics, I was major at University of San Francisco as a nurse, not marketing, not public speaking, so bear with me, but I think they're kind of cute and they get better as we go. Every block has a captain or a rep. That's the first step. I need block captains. You need block captains. We have 27. We need about 27 more. Block captains host a meeting. They come to the workshop, and it's 1 hour. 1 hour. That's the time it takes to stand in line at Starbucks. I know everyone uses that, but it's a good one. Or Black Dog Coffee, I'm sorry, Black Dog Coffee, probably you're standing in line there, maybe even on a line. And maybe you cleaned up your email and picked up your dry cleaning. If you can give that amount of time to a workshop that I will host and teach you every secret, I'm not going to give it to you today, because you're going to come to the workshop, or your block captain, okay? But this isn't just another secure your doorbell. No, this is McGruff 2.0. So when you come, I'll share my secrets with you. And then that block captain or representative, don't lean on just your block captain, because right now I've only asked them to do a roster. And if I ask them for any more, they're going to leave their handouts on my doorstep and say, you're nuts. So please help your block captain. A block representative comes to the workshop. They host a meeting with their neighbors in the backyard, front yard, anywhere. If you need a venue, let me know. And you teach that to your block. You say, this is what we're doing. This is suspicious activity. This is how we incorporate patrol. And this is how we're rolling from here forward to deter crime, to clean up our neighborhood. And it's not that bad, but the statistics aren't going down. And every block is now actively involved in the watch. So the 3 parts, because it was 3 steps, 3 parts, I kept it simple because I thought that would stick with you, is secure your property. You are going to work with LAPD and 24/7 response private patrol. We do not bypass LAPD. They are critical. Just because they couldn't come tonight, we're not going to diss them and go with just patrol. They are a very important part. They are your first call. And we'll talk more about that at the workshop that you're all going to be listening to. Neighborhood watch. More than just Miss Kravitz behind the curtain. A lot more than that. It's Miss Kravitz calling patrol, LAPD first, getting everybody involved, calling an next door neighbor. Do you see that? Come on out. Put your lights on. And I have a very motivated speaker. Her name's Eliza Duran. She's going to let you know all about how that works. Secure your property. You're going to learn about hardening your target inside, outside of your home, and while you're away from home. Home security, printable checklists that you will take. You will grab your child like I will, and you will go through the house and say how you will pretend you're a criminal with that checklist and see how is my home secure or is it not secure? How secure is it? And a list of safety products with, we all love this, links. Click, shop, done. Okay? Because that's what you need to do. LAPD and 24 response. You're going to learn how to call LAPD. Does anyone know the non-emergent number? Raise your hand if you can rattle it off right now. Raise your hand if on your cell phone you have LAPD's phone number. Someone has their arm up. Oh, I like you. Are you a block captain? Okay, thank you. You see? It's a disease we have. On your phone, you should have all these numbers and your private patrol. Heavy saturation of private patrol. Why? Because LAPD won't be there. They tell you we can't be there all the time. And they support patrol. Used correctly. It's not a replacement. Utilizing the many benefits of patrol, rapid response, and how your senior lead officer helps your block. You're going to learn all about that. Includes, for the neighborhood watch, eyes on the street, look around, slow down. Slow down, not only for safety, but look around your neighborhood. You will learn all about how a neighborhood watch works, and it's more than just looking. It's working together. Communication, group emails. If we didn't start this, how many of you know your neighbors? Raise your hand if you know one neighbor. Keep your hand raising if you know 5 neighbors. Keep your hand raising if you know all 30 neighbors on your block and their emails. And you can call them right now and tell them that there is a car. Put your hand down, because you're not a block captain. And can you call your neighbors and let them know that something's going on and we kind of need a response? Not to get involved. We're not running out. We're not. We're smart. We're observing and we're reporting. Do you have a text alert system for your block so that within seconds you can first call your mother-in-law and then notify all other 15 people that there is somebody knocking doors that is not legitimate? Do you have that? I'm sorry. Do you want it?
Yes.
Will you come to the workshop?
Yes.
Will you make sure you have a block captain?
Yes.
Thank you. We're not done. There's more graphics and fun things. Neighborhood Watch makes a difference. Okay, this is from Chapman Woods. This is outlined from September through March this year. So this is recent. I think Chapman Woods, I'm not quite sure, but it's somewhere in LA, and this is a post-patrol company that serves San Gabriel Valley. But this is an example of what you'll see when you have a patrolled area. Okay, this one I love. This is Los Feliz in the past 6 months. To the right, I don't know what color it is, but you see all the masked guys up there, women too, I don't know, mostly men. And that's an unpatrolled area. That's how you've been living. And the middle box has about 6 patrols a day. And the little box, but pretty empty, looks like half of a burglar got in there, has 24/7 patrol. This is, and I didn't move masks around, I can't manipulate the crime mapping website yet. But this is what happens when you do an active neighborhood patrol and watch, and you all start communicating. Obviously, they had problems here. Obviously, they started intervening, and somebody was smart enough to catch all this. I didn't. So this is what happens when you get together and do a neighborhood watch. You're building community. This is how it has to be. You need to know each other. You need to work together. You need to protect yourself and others. It's very easy. Raise your hand if you don't have time for this. Raise your hand if you have some time for this. Raise your hand if you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, but you'll do whatever I say. Thank you. So, I have a couple questions for you. Can we get 27 block captains? Because you had a lot of questions for me, I'm sure. And we are going to open this up after you hear from Eliza Duran, 2 patrol companies, and I'll get back up to harass you some more. You will have time for questions, but usually what we get are the same questions, and then, like I said before, I'm not psychic, but you'll leave here with your one intervention. And Councilmember Rue is waiting to come up here, but can't yet. So hold on, we're almost there. Can we get 27 block captains? Will you be a block rep to attend a 1-hour workshop in April and host a block meeting before the end of May? These are questions I want you to think about tonight when you're cleaning up your phone and making sure everything's tidy. Will you and your neighbors attend your block meeting and learn how to participate in a neighborhood watch? So when you see that flyer, will you really come to a meeting and be part of your block? It all breaks down to it's not complicated. It all breaks down to the block. This is a mobile LAPD unit. They are getting more and more involved. It's fantastic. The communication lines are opening up. If you are on the Nextdoor app, it's nextdoor.com if you're not familiar with it. We'll talk more about that at the workshop. And what happens is they are putting up their maps, their crime maps. I think it's every few weeks or every month. Or it's every week. Anyways, you'll see them on there. And also, they're out in the community. Cops and Coffee is a great time. They're doing roll call, which I didn't know what it was. It's fantastic. This is roll call here. They're going to certain parts. They even go to troubled spots and areas, and they will just set up. All the officers come. It's fantastic. I did it on my lunch break. I suggest you do the same, but they're going to do it in evening hours as well. And you can talk to all of them. They're all accessible. They're all willing to be part of the solution. They can't do their job until we get organized. And we can ask a lot more of them when we get organized. So I would like for Eliza Duran to please come up here and speak about her experience as a block captain and Tao Tran and their experiences on their blocks.
Thank you, Kari. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Eliza Duran. About 10 years ago, I was broken into. It was right after I'd been hospitalized for losing my daughter, and my husband had thrown us back out. We were completely in disarray. We were not paying attention. And 2 gang members who had been casing our house broke into our house, went in through soft targets. I'll get into that in a second. And they ran down the street. Luckily, our neighbor saw them, called 911. LAPD, 2 LAPD gang crime unit cars just happened to be blocks away heading up for lunch. They turned right, bad guys turned left, end of story. Lucky for us, they caught them. But I just wanted to let you guys know that they were casing our block. They were watching us come and go, which is what they do. So this is why the neighborhood watch system is so important. I decided at that time, I didn't want that to happen again on my block. I didn't want to have that to happen again in our entire neighborhood. So I decided to go door to door. I went to every single one of my neighbors and I said, hi, I went alone because my husband's 6'3" and he's a big guy. So, that's not a good combination. So I went, I'm 5'2" and I'm knocking on the door. I'm a mom. I'm not threatening anybody. And I said, "Hi, my name's Eliza Durand. This is what happened to me. This is where I live. I live right 2 doors from you, 3 doors, 4 doors, whatever. I don't want this to happen to you." Come to find out, our entire block had been hit. Every single neighbor had been hit within a 5-year span. And I said, "This has got to stop. Would you be willing to give me your phone number? I give you my phone number, and we just kind of contact each other in case we see something unusual." Because what happens is the gang unit, they came and met with me, and they said, "This is what you did wrong, Eliza. You did all of these things wrong. You don't have a dog, you don't have an alarm system, you got French doors that don't have alarm, you don't have deadbolts on your back door, you didn't lock your back gate, you don't have a dog." There's a lot of stuff we did wrong. So those are soft targets. They came through our soft targets. They were watching. And so we've hardened all those targets. That's what it's called. We put the deadbolts in. We put all the alarms on. We got the cameras. We lock the gates. Give the key to your gardener. Those are the kind of things that you need to do. Get a dog. Pay attention when you leave. When you're driving down the street, if you see somebody who doesn't belong on your block, maybe you should take a photo of them with your phone. Just take it out. Flip it open. I got your driver's license. Now I'm going to send it to all my neighbors and my senior lead officer. Just because. No big deal, just because. Guess what? A guy sitting in a Mercedes with a suit on was just sitting on one of the blocks, driving a stolen Mercedes. Yeah, looks very unassuming, right? Guy in a suit in a Mercedes. Guy had a stolen Mercedes. They catch the guy because somebody did that. You don't belong on my block today. Why are you just sitting on my block watching my street? This is what they do. Okay? So little things like that we need to pay attention to. Now, let me flashback. Since I put together the neighborhood watch system for my block, we know each other by name. I literally know every single one of my neighbors, their kids, their cousins, their dogs, their cat. If they're on vacation, we call each other, we contact each other. Can you take in my garbage can? Can you make sure that the junk mail is off the sidewalk? We pick up garbage if we see something, somebody drops something in front of our neighbors. We take care of each other, which is really, really cool. Because now we have community. And this is amazing. This is what we want to share with you. I tried to bring this to the Miracle Mile Residential Association a decade ago, but I was only me, and I just couldn't get it to move forward. Kari is unbelievable. She knows so many people, and Jim knows so many people. So the fact that we're getting this spread out throughout the Miracle Mile is what we need. We need people to step forward today. We need you to come forward and go, "You know what? I think I want to do that. I think I'm going to do that with my block." Because, people live longer when they live in a community, when they know each other. They take care of each other. And this is what it's about. It's taking care of our people, the people we live around. We say hi. It's a cool feeling to drive down the street and wave at my neighbor. "Hey Mark, how's it going? Good to see you." We walk back across the street if we pull in at the same time, catch up, just to make sure that they're okay. So it's a really good thing that's going on our block, and we would really like to share it with the rest of the Miracle Mile because this is an amazing area to live in. Now, some things I wanted to share with you as well, which are things that they're doing. Now, you might think that you're safe if you have a very small window in your closet and you're sitting in your house and, you've locked your gate. Well, they're jumping over the gate now. And now they're bringing little Joey, their little cousin or their little brother or their friend's cousin who's, 6, 7. He's little. And they're lifting him up and they're shoving him through that little window. And little Joey, he's going to the French doors and he's opening that French door and letting them in. So those are the things that they're doing. So you're not safe with that little window open. So alarm it. When you leave, alarm your house. Harden those targets. Make sure that window can't open any more than some small child to fit in, because they will find a way in. They're breaking the panes. They're bringing screwdrivers in their pockets, and they're breaking open those French doors. They are figuring ways out to break into your homes. Don't leave things in your car. Make sure it's cleaned out. And it's not that you can't live your life. It's just try to put your head into their mentality. They want to grab and go. They want to get in. They want to grab their stuff. The easy things to get to take out through a window or a door or whatever, and they want to take off. They can sell it easily. It's no big deal for them. They don't want to grab big TVs or anything like that. So I just want to share little stories about what they're doing. They'll pretend that they have car trouble, which is what happened to us. And we didn't recognize the car or the people involved. And so I called all my neighbors, and like 5 neighbors walked out, and we're all pretending that we're on our phone with each other, and we're pointing at them. And they're getting a little nervous, and they're getting in and out of their car and talking to each other and saying, oh, we have car trouble. Well, yeah, okay, I don't think you have car trouble, but we're going to keep pointing at you and talking and pretending that we're looking at you. And come to find out, one of the guys says to him, hey, pick me up around the corner. He walks around the corner. Sure enough, the guy doesn't even look in his car, shuts the hood, gets in the car, and drives off. Casing. These guys are watching us. This is what they do. So I just want to bring these things to your attention. Guy knocking door to door, asking to sell 3x5 cards. He wants, money for some gift card. He's getting money from people. They're getting money. They're claiming they're with LA High School. They are not with LA High School. Okay? It's a scam. So what they're doing is they're leaving a 3x5 card and they're saying, can I come back and pick this up later? You've just given them permission to come on your property now. So he does this to, one of the kids does this to a bunch of our neighbors, and my neighbor calls me and says, hey, that guy was at your house for quite some time. And I said, yeah, I wanted him to face my camera so that I could see I want to see his face. And she said, well, he came to my door, and actually my daughter stepped outside and he kissed her hand. I said, okay, that's a big red flag. Now he's stepped across the border. And come to find out, he stepped down a couple of doors, and he tried to come through the front door of our neighbor's house because she was older.
Are you guys on next door? Did you guys see the string about the LA high school door knockers? And there was pictures posted of the door knockers. So those door knockers came to the 900 block of Cloverdale, and they were confronted by the residents of 900 Cloverdale. And this is exactly what Eliza was talking about.
These are those kids,
These were those kids. So, the neighbors of 900 Cloverdale, they identified that the door knockers, they were incredibly aggressive, and they started notifying the other residents on the block. Meanwhile, one of the residents called 911, and, fortunately, there was a patrol car somewhere nearby, so we had a pretty quick response.
Right, well, after they tried to step onto the property, the older lady kind of freaked out, and he exited the property, went back onto the property through the back gate. So this is twice now, he's tried to enter the property. And then the son came out, who owns the house, and started yelling at him, said, why are you on my property? And he claimed, I'm picking up a 3x5 card. Okay, so this is what they're saying. Now this is their excuse to step onto your property, is they've left you a 3x5 card. This is not LA High School. They have nothing to do with LA High School. Do not take their card. Do not listen to them. Get off the phone and call either the non-emergency number, which is 1-800-ASK-LAPD. 1-877. Yeah, exactly. And, make sure you let them know that these guys are doing it again. They're out here again. Well, we called 911 on them because our block is really connected. And we just knew after my neighbor had called me, and then I saw my other neighbor walking down the street going, why are you trying to get into my house? He started to walk away. Well, we called LAPD, non-emergency, 911. I'm going to try to cut this as short as possible. And a non-marked car drove up the street because they were a block away, and they questioned the guy. So from next door, I saw it on next door, and we've been able to follow since then. Anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know that there is a lot of stuff going on. They do things, they're watching us, but we need to stick together. And the one thing that our block has done is we know each other by name. And what we need more block captains to come forward and to go door to door, to meet your neighbors, to just get a telephone number, you've got their number of the house that they live in, and an email address. So you can send them information, which is what I did that day. You send them information, this is what's going on, and let's get in touch with each other. Let's keep in touch with each other, let's watch what's going on, and basically come together. I'm rambling on. And come together as a neighborhood, and that's what this is about. So anyway, passing it off.
Does she not inspire you? Stand out and Eliza. Thank you so much. So we have 2 more quick speakers for you. They have a few minutes each, otherwise we're going to have to cut them off too. But they are very important. We have 2 patrol companies. We do not endorse any one company, but these 2 companies are in the area, and I would like for you to hear from them. Patrol is a very, very critical component of this, and we will share much more with you at the workshop and on your front lawn or backyard when you come to your block meeting. 3 steps, 3 parts, very easy. But patrol is huge, and so I would like to have Eno Hill from ACS please come up here and give us a few minutes if you are still here. Yay! Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Tao and Eliza.
I'm Eno Hill with ACS Security. Some of you guys might recognize me. We started a patrol with you guys a handful of months back, and I'm glad that Kari brought up the Los Feliz neighborhood because that's where I was pulled to over the past few months because of all their home invasions and break-ins. And in the past 3 months, we were able to take a neighborhood like you with no established HOA with CCNRs and dues and get to a level of support where they now have 24-hour patrol, which is exciting for me because now I get to come back to Miracle Mile and finish the job that I originally started. And meeting with my boss this week, I have exciting news for you guys. Starting Monday, we are going to give you guys 8-hour dedicated patrol on our dime, and it's going to be up to you guys to support it. But from here, we're going to put in a team, and we're going to get 24-hour patrol. We're going to give you guys the patrol protection that you guys deserve. So we're very excited about that. But to give a little brief history about our company, we've been around for over 35 years. We're the only company here in LA that does the alarm and patrol under one roof here in Los Angeles. And we've done this dedicated patrol for over 40 associations throughout LA. What's unique about us is that once we enter a neighborhood, we've never pulled a vehicle out yet due to competition, lack of support, you name it. So when we enter a neighborhood, crime dramatically decreases. Our mission here is to create a unified presence where each street has our signs. You see the yellow truck driving up and down frequently but randomly. If I'm an opportunist, I'm a gang member, I'm targeting your block, I go up it, I see ACS in the yellow truck, I'm just going to find another street. I'm going to find another neighborhood, but I'm not going to target one of those homes. I've been doing this for about a decade now, and I can count on one hand how many of my customers have been broken into with these signs. It's the sign that is the deterrent. It is the unified presence that we create that is the deterrent. On top of our patrol service, you get response to the alarm, you get the 24/7 direct assistance. It allows you to be proactive. Look, LAPD is stretched thin. You got 4 units covering a 65 square mile radius, responding to alarms, responding to cars that are parked in your street, responding to weird knocks on your door. That's their lowest priority. It goes through a non-emergency line, and they're going to get to it when they get to it. They're chasing the violent crimes. With us, think of us like a private police, for your neighborhood. You call us for any reason. You see anything suspicious, allows you to give us a call. We'll send an armed officer to ID the guy, get the license plate, kick him off the block if he has no business being there. Once we enter a neighborhood, we start to get to really know the neighborhood too. And the more customers we have, the more we know who belongs in the neighborhood, who doesn't belong in the neighborhood, who's your gardener, who's your guest. Everybody ends up, working together on all this. Take a block like Maslin. I don't know if you guys been down Maslin. Perfect example of what we're going to accomplish for your community. Maslin has over 20 customers with 30 homes on that block. We had the large sign that says Maslin Ave, Miracle Mile, now protected 24 hours, ACS. Every home on that street has our signs. There has been one break-in in the past 3 or 4 months since we've done this. They were getting slammed hard. It was the reason why they reached out to us. That's a great example of a block that works together. They meet 3-4 times a year to have picnics, barbecues. They have all our information. That is what you guys should mirror for every one of your blocks. We're here to help you guys do that. We help a ton of neighborhoods throughout LA establish block captains, work with their neighborhood watch. We're in this to do this with you guys. And patrol is one aspect of it. The alarm is one aspect of it. But really, the most effective way to do this is for you guys to all work together. 27 block captains, that's huge. That's awesome. Kari has been a rock star ever since I met her, ever since her incident, and making this a priority. Because if you leave it in the hands of the city and legislation and the police, it's not going to happen. You have to take the matter into your own hands. We're here. We're going to give you guys an 8-hour call right out of the gate, and we're going to be the company that gets you there to the 24-hour car because we're bringing in the A squad, and it is my priority to make sure that you guys are protected. I take a lot of pride in that. I'd like to open up some questions if I have time or no.
No, not right now.
I think we'll do the questions.
No worries.
We'll get the council's up here now, so
Sure.
you can hang around, all right?
All right, well, I'll be around if you guys want to ask me any questions, but just know, get used to seeing the yellow trucks because we are going to be coming in full force, and we're going to give you guys 24-hour patrol. My goal is to do it within 3 months. So, thank you guys for your time.
So we are going to stop our presentation for a few minutes for Councilmember Rue to come up. I apologize for having him wait. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to come back up here. We have ADT Patrol who's going to speak to you, and then I have a few final words. So it'll give you a few minutes to let everything marinate, and maybe you have some questions for me.
Come on, Dave. Please give a big hand of applause to Councilman David Rue.
Thank you, Jim, and it's great to be here at the MMRA. And you know what? This is a standing crowd only, and there's everyone's watching. Luckily, there's a TV outside. I think you got to change meeting location, Jim. Go to a larger place. This is good. I mean, I love coming here. Every time I come here, the crowd gets larger and larger, and that means a lot. Because we love Miracle Mile, you love Miracle Mile, and the reason why Miracle Mile is as great as it is because of you. Because you care, and because you come out. And I really want to thank Jim and the entire board, but I really, really want to thank for the Neighborhood Watch block captains that came up here and talked about their passion stories and tried to teach you about Neighborhood Watch, and to Kari and to Kelly Perkins for the co-chairs of the Public Safety Committee. There's two types of people in this world. There's a type of person where, they might be walking down Miracle Mile, and Miracle Mile is beautiful, and they see some trash on the floor, and they will say, "Oh my God, why is there litter in our streets? Why is there litter in our sidewalks?" They'll take pictures, they'll send it to my office, they'll start a whole campaign to say, "Oh my God, our city's not doing their service, they're not cleaning up, this is wrong, this is messing up our neighborhood, and something needs to be done about it." And complain and complain and complain. And there's a second type of person that sees the trash on the floor and just picks it up. So Kari and Kelly is one of those people. I remember when I met Kari, was it 6 months ago? Where is she right now? Oh, was it 6 months ago? No. Yeah, about 6 months ago, she came to my office. She was upset but still composed. Very irate but composed. She had a potential burglar prowler at her house. And she has young daughters, and she was angry. And she came with research, but the bottom line was, okay, I don't want to complain, what can I do? And we went over everything, what she just presented to you about the Neighborhood Watch, and I said, Neighborhood Watch. And she said, you know what, I am going to organize the entire Miracle Mile, and I've met many constituents who say stuff like this, and I'm going to come back, and Councilmember, I need your support, and I said, you have my 1,000% support.
But I need your money.
Got that too? And look at what she's done in the short span of 6 months. Because I got to tell you, public safety is the most important thing. And your neighborhood knows about all the different issues from mansionization, development, all these other transportation, traffic, all the stuff that's going on in the city. But all of that doesn't matter if you are not safe in your own home. If your family and yourself don't feel protected, then who cares about all these other issues? So public safety is number one, and I am fully cognizant of that, and that's why I've been in office for almost 3 years now. Can you believe it? But As soon as I got in, I wanted to be on the Public Safety Committee, and now I am on the Public Safety Committee. It's a little less than a year now, and I've been advocating for increased anything for LAPD. Last year, we got an augmentation of administrative staff at LAPD, and that's very important because when there's a crime and a police officer comes in and makes an arrest, they have to go back and do all this paperwork. Now we have administrative staff who takes care of that paperwork so that officer could be out in the street. Recently, and unfortunately LAPD is not here today because they had a death in one of the members. Natural death, cancer, a little early death. And that's why they're all at the funeral, a Wilshire division, so we don't have a representation today. But, you know, myself, as well as my fellow colleagues, pleaded and said we need more patrols in our streets. And Chief Beck responded and augmented every police department with more police officers. And for Wilshire division, we got 9 new officers, which, yes, applause for that. Which turns out to be about 2 additional basic cars that patrol. But I gotta tell you, even if we augmented Wilshire Division by 30 officers, still not enough. Still not enough, and this is where neighborhood watch, where you guys come into play. You know, whether you have a private patrol, I mean, unless we have a police officer parked in front of your driveway, then crime's gonna happen. Because burglars are smart too. And I think many people have said this before. They're smart, and the thing is, they go where it's easiest. For example, in one area in Sherman Oaks, there was a rising spike in crime. So the police captain tried to do something about it, and now the LAPD has a whole program called Lock It, Hide It, Keep It. Simple, what it says. Lock your doors, you know, whether your car door or your house door. Hide it. If you're going to put stuff in your car like a laptop, hide it underneath the seat. Don't put your wallet out. Therefore, you get to keep it. For example, in one area, in one neighborhood, there was 10 Grand Theft Autos, GTAs, 10. 7 of them were caused by people who left their keys in the car. So this is what I mean. So burglars, the criminals, they don't even break a window. They just walk around and try to open the door. So don't make it easy for them. And of course, in the hills, in the Hollywood Hills, or all the various hills, there's lots of mail theft, and there's mail theft going on everywhere. And people are saying, "Oh my God, Councilmember, I don't know what to do." And this is where you have either locked mailboxes or neighbors help each other out. The reason why there's more rash of mail theft in the hillsides is because in the past, no one went up there. It's a safe neighborhood. That's why you love your neighborhood, because it's safe and you could leave your door open. No one stole your packages. And guess what? The burglars know that too. Oh my gosh, if you go up there, there's packages galore. It's like a shopping mall. So neighbors, it's about neighbors coming together. If you know you're going to be out of town or if you're going to be gone for the evening, to look out for each other. Turn on the lights. I mean, all the things that you will learn when you go to the neighborhood watch training. Another incident happened, and they talked about Los Feliz, where there was a in-home invasion robbery. There was only one. There wasn't multiple. Someone tried to mention there was multiple. There was only one. And most in-home invasion robberies are 99% of the time done by someone else who knows each other. So it's not a random occurrence. It's like what you hear. It's not just randomly something happening. So there was one incident that happened in Los Feliz, and everybody was in a panic. I came out to the community, I sponsored, I told them, I came out to the community, met with them, and I said, I need you to help. No matter what we do, it's not going to be enough. What you need to do is a neighborhood watch. And they said, Councilmember, we'll do our first neighborhood watch meeting. Will you sponsor it? And I said, of course. I'll do a little barbecue. And they had a tremendous outpour of support. Literally about 80 people came out in this one area of Los Feliz. But the most amazing thing happened. They came out, everybody met, there was some food, and we spoke, and we had LAPD and everyone there. We publicized about Neighborhood Watch, starting it there. But neighbors came to each other and said, oh my gosh, I've lived here for 25 years, you're my neighbor, and I've never even met you before. So it's people coming for the first time saying hello. I mean, it's not like Miracle Mile where you guys all know each other, but in other neighborhoods, they've lived there for decades and never said hi to the person who lived across the street from them or next to them. And that's what's the best. It's about neighbors helping neighbors. And now they also have a neighborhood watch, and it's about coming together. Now, more than neighborhood watch, that's the first step. So you need to get engaged, and you will learn all these tips. It's about video cameras, but it's not a video camera that just shows it in the front door. It's not like what you see on TV, CIS, or all these movies where you get a facial recognition and then they catch the criminal. No, we don't have that. Doesn't exist. But what the police, if you ask your senior lead officer to come, and actually when you do your neighborhood watch, police officers will come to your house and walk you through your house and tell you what's good and what's wrong and make recommendations to secure your house. But also when you talk about video cameras, and I want you to go to the training because you'll learn all of this, they'll tell you it's not just about getting the face. It's about, if you have more than one camera, angling it, because more than the face, it's the license plate. What the LAPD officers could do is run a license plate analysis and see which car doesn't belong in the neighborhood and track it down that way. So while your house might not have been burglarized, your next door neighbors might, but of course the burglars aren't going to park their car right in front of the house. They might park it in front of your house, and your camera might get the angle as they're driving down. So it's simple things like that where you help each other. So these are the things that you learn, and this is where neighborhood watch is so crucial, because there's nothing, no matter how much we invest, it's not enough. But more importantly, once you have this neighborhood watch up and running, that's just step one. Guess what? You remember all the Notify LA and all this stuff that you're working on? Oh, and one other thing. The reason why neighborhood watch is so important is next door is great, but you want factual information. Sometimes, you know how telephone tree works, right? I tell one person here, and by the time it gets down to the end of the row, it becomes a completely different story. And next door, there's no way for me to monitor next door. Because the whole point of next door, it's a private company. You have to live in the neighborhood to have that account. And there are sometimes, there's good information that's shared, but sometimes there's hysteria as well. We finally got permission as the city of Los Angeles and as an elected official to make posts to give factual information. And the only reason I find out is because someone in the community says, Councilmember, something's going really wild on next door and they're saying all this stuff. Can you clear it up? I try not to have a discussion on next door because I can't. I could post, I can't read. So we post once in a while. But neighborhood watch with the telephone tree, you want to know factual. You don't want to not only spread misinformation, but you want proper information of exactly what's going on, exactly what to look for, exactly what to give. So that's why neighborhood watch is so crucial, and having that tree. But that's the first step. The second step is, we live in a disaster-prone city. That same neighborhood watch can become emergency response. You could, if you want to go all the way further, you could get CERT trained for disaster prevention, right? Whether it's fire, rain, or earthquake. You remember, earthquake is our biggest potential disaster. It's not a matter of when it's if it's coming. It's a matter of when it's coming. It's gonna come. So you have to prepare in your neighborhood. You know more about your neighbor. And when a natural disaster happens, if the big one ever comes, do you know who's going to, if something happens in your neighborhood, if someone has a heart attack, or if someone's sick, or someone's hurt, do you know who's going to respond? Your neighbors. Because in an emergency disaster of the big earthquake, police and fire is going to go to the most significant damaged areas. You might not see emergency response for hours or if not days. So that's where you're going to have to rely on your neighbors. And who knows more about your neighborhood? It's about where do the seniors live? Who is disabled? Who has pets? Who has children? And it's about documenting that. And that's your next advanced step. So neighborhood watch is just the beginning. So I can't tell you how much it means that, Kari literally rolled up her sleeves and says, I'm doing this. And this is your neighborhood taking matters into your own hands, and I really appreciate it because and you have my complete full support. Whatever I can do to augment, I will. So, and I'm going to open up to question and answer, but you know what? I got a couple other things. I want to make a couple announcements about the police commission. We are we will be hiring for a new police chief. I'm sure you guys all read about that, right? Mm-hmm. And I am so pleased with the police commission. They are committed. They have already done 35 outreaches in the community. They're committed. The police commissioners are committed to doing 100, if not more. The next one, the big one they're going to have is going to be at Friendship Auditorium near Griffith Park lots of ample parking. That's April 3rd at 6:30 p.m. I'm sure the MMRA will send out a notice on that. But you know, they are committed to coming out, and I'm sure if you guys request it, they'll come out here as well, because they need to hear from you. What do you want to see in your next police chief? But it's not just about what you want to see in your next police chief. This is, what do you want to see in your police department? Because this next police chief could be police chief for the next 10, 20 years. 5, 10, 20 years. So what is your priority? What is important to you? And they want to hear it, because the police commission are the ones who are interviewing doing the national search, interviewing, and picking the finalists for the mayor to decide, to make the recommendation to the city council. So this is your opportunity to let the police commission know what your priorities are in the next police chief, and what your priorities are that you want to see in the police department. So please come to the Friendship Auditorium. I'm sure if you want a special police commission to come here, I'm sure we can make that happen as well, because they have made that commitment to me. They said they'll do 100. They'll do whatever it takes to go out. And and they want your feedback. They said they went to a meeting and no one asked a question. They picked on people and made them ask a question. Oh, and I want to recognize my new senior field deputy. He's not that new anymore, but Rob Fisher. Rob, come on out. So he's the one that makes me look good, so feel free to go up to him, ask him questions. He's your guy. But I also want to recognize Liz Carlin. Liz, you know you're on the corner. Come on out. And Liz is from Council District 10, which is just on the other side of Olympic. And I got to tell you, I've known Liz for decades. And before I was elected, if any problems I had in the 10th district, Liz was my person. And I just can't wait till Councilman Wesson leaves, because she is a catch. So, I mean, we work closely with her, so I want you to know you got Liz and you got Rob, okay? And I'll open up you want to do Q&A? I'll do Q&A, but I'm sure whatever you want to ask about. 827, thank you so much for that. Senate Bill 827, you guys all heard about that, right? Many of you guys wrote in, many of you guys came in on Friday to speak on it. But yes, and it passed Rules Committee on Friday, and it will be here on Council, I believe, on Tuesday. And it is going to pass. And that's about the state bill that wants to basically take over planning, right? Issues locally, which we're all opposing. But with that, I'll open up to questions, and sir in the back.
Yes, virtually everything that's been talked about here today is dealing with the symptoms of the disease. And for me, the underlying disease, it was mentioned Los Angeles High School. We have a 52% chronic truancy rate at LAUSD, which is putting these kids on the street in the first place. If you deal with the issues that these kids have, then you don't have to deal with the symptoms. 70% of the kids with diplomas that aren't worth the paper they're written on are failing the placement exam in the junior college. Who is going to go after LAUSD, an entrenched, still segregated public education system 64 years after Brown said separate but equal is inherently unequal? My main point, you go to the source of where these kids are coming from, engage them. I can teach a kid to be a welder in 6 months, starting salary is $40,000 a year, and they can be breaking into our homes. Can this association in some way deal with that, or you as an elected official deal with it?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that question, and I'm going to try to make my response as short as possible, because you just hit a passion topic of mine. First off, I don't want to say that all crime is committed by young adolescents, because that's not necessarily the case. Because we do have outstanding young individuals at LA High as well. But you're right, it's working with LAUSD, and we are working with them to figure out, it's not just LA High, it's all the other high schools, whether it's Marshall with the truancy issues. LAUSD is underfunded, under-budgeted, the school police has been major cut, and there's lots of things we need to do there. But you are absolutely correct, and it's about where we put our priorities. Education is crucial. Education is the key. But where is our society, our nation, putting our resources? We talk about it. Every politician, everybody from a city council member to the President of the United States talks about education is the future, and education brings people out of poverty. Yet, whenever it's a bad budget year or something bad happens, what do we cut? We cut education, we cut music programs, we cut parks, we cut senior centers, we cut libraries. So, and then when we have good budget years, where do we put our priorities? We put it into everything else but education or libraries. you know, and it's partially, and I'm not trying to blame anyone, but people would rather see our streets repaved and sidewalks done than build schools. And guess what? It costs more to send a young mind to jail. It's about $60,000 on average to send to jail versus sending them to USC, which is one of the most expensive schools in the nation, which is about $50,000. Send them to a UC system, UCLA, it's about $30,000. Community college is about $12,000, but actually in Los Angeles, we have community college free for the first year, and now we're going to extend it to 2 years. It's actually free to send them to college, but we'd rather send them to jail, and our jails are overcrowded. So what can I do as a council member? Because I'm not a school board member, but I fully recognize what you're saying. And this is why this year I'm committed, I've been working on it for over a year, is children's savings accounts. This is not a new concept. This has been around for a long time. Many states and cities have done this. And it simply says a $50 savings account started in the first grade for college. It increases graduation rates by 4-fold and college acceptance rates by 3-fold. And you're thinking, how does a $50 savings account do that? Simple. Everybody here, I'm sure mostly everyone here went to college, right? And the question I ask everyone is, why'd you go to college? And everyone's like, oh, because I wanted education, I wanted to learn, I wanted to become this, I wanted to become that. No, it's so simple and so fundamental why you went to college. You went to college because your parents told you to go to college. When I was growing up, I had to be a doctor. I did not think there was any other profession in life except for a doctor. And in order to be a doctor, you go to college and then you go to medical school. So I'm like, I'm going to be a doctor. But unfortunately, many families aren't having that discussion at the dinner table, because many families, their parents, because they've never went to college, and some are single parents, or they're wearing 2-3 jobs, and they don't think college is affordable. I remember my best friend, I grew up in a low-income neighborhood just north of here. My best friend, his sister went to college, made it to UCLA. They were Mexican-American, and she was the first in her entire generation to go to college, and it was such a big deal that we had a party for an entire month where her entire family from everywhere came to visit to celebrate that she went to UCLA. And I was like, what's the big deal? But it's that much of a big deal. And it turns out, and I'm talking about lower income families, right, where it's not even SATs. But guess what? LAUSD, 80% of the students at LAUSD are under the federal poverty line. So 80% of the students at LAUSD are under the federal poverty line. Lunch ticket program, they're below the poverty line. They are our target audience. So it's about, instead of just talking about education, it's not just truancy. I mean, and our education system needs to be funded. We have parents, we have teachers not even talking about what to teach the kids, but they're debating, I can't teach my kids because they're coming to school hungry. You know, so it's about prioritizing what we need to do, and it's about everything. It's not just truancy. If we really want to stem the tide and make sure that they become productive members of society, we need to give them that opportunity and that equity. Homelessness is all interwrapped, and I know someone's going to ask that question as well. And it's not just about tackling existing homeless. It's about prevention of homeless. And what do I mean by prevention of homeless? It doesn't matter if we start housing all these people who are homeless, which we need to do. It's making sure new people don't become homeless, and there are 3 groups that are most vulnerable becoming homeless. And that's domestic violence victims, especially if they have language or cultural barrier. Seniors, especially if they have no family and have early onset dementia. And third is foster kids or transitional age youth. Our foster system, you think our school system with truancy is bad? Our foster system is like Gladiator Academy. So instead of it's not just prevention, it's not just helping existing homeless, but it's also prevention of homeless. And it's about hitting those target groups. So you are absolutely correct. I agree with you. As a council member, I'm trying to do everything that I can to help and assist education. I am not a school board member, but I work closely with my school board members, and they're committed to this battle as well. And it's about that's why I support after-school programs. That's why I want everyone in the Miracle Mile Association to do what they can to support your local schools. LA High doesn't even have lights to do Friday night football. And football, what does that have to do with it? The more extracurricular students do after school, less they get out of trouble. But of course, our after-school programs are all being cut. So I fight at the state on behalf of LAUSD and all the various after-school programs to make sure they're fully funded. So these are the things I'm working on, and I know the community cares about that too. We're trying to, another great thing with, especially, and thank you for Measure A that was passed, the Parks Bond. With that, we're working with LAUSD to actually open up, we're starting with elementary schools, to open them up on weekends and evenings to become community grounds. Community park, place to recreate, place to run, place to just open them up. So we're going to open that up as well, so kids have a place to go, as well as parents.
Can you give me the address for the Friendship Auditorium?
Friendship Auditorium. I don't have the address. I'll make sure we give it to Friendship Auditorium. We'll give it to Jim to pass it around. But it's on the corner, well, not the corner, but on Los Feliz and Riverside, right outside of Griffith Park. It's not on the corner. It's on the south side of Los Feliz, but there's tennis courts and a swimming pool, but it's right behind that. Okay.
I agree.
Oh, and that was Friendship Auditorium for the Police Commission, just for people who didn't know. Yes.
I agree that people that are coming to rob or to be a burglar, they don't belong in the neighborhood and they probably look a little strange. But because of my life history, I'm very sensitive to people deciding that someone maybe that looks like me doesn't belong in the neighborhood. And they stop me and say, what are you doing here? Why are you here? You don't have business to be here. Maybe it's less so now racially, maybe be other factors, maybe economic, how poor you look, whatever. But it can be dangerous. People have been shot and killed because they looked like they didn't belong there, but maybe they were innocently there. I remember in high school I used to walk through neighborhoods saying, isn't this lovely, isn't this beautiful? And even now, I may want to hike, I should walk. Why not walk through here? The streets are public streets. They're paid by taxpayer money. And we have to be sensitive and not be so certain that just because someone is different, that maybe they're a danger.
Thank you for that comment. Can I have Kari? Yeah. Yes, sure, Kari.
Really quickly, that's a great question, whoever asked that. And after we get our community organized and everybody's educated and is aware of what's suspicious and what's not, everybody can breathe a sigh of relief, because the education is important so that people are aware of that. And I think what's going to happen is there is going to be more safety, more security. This actually came up about a month ago, and the person that was behaving suspiciously turned out to be a neighbor. And now that person is basically embraced and cared for by 3 blocks that never knew this person before. So it works very well when we're calm and we're educated and we know what's suspicious and what's not. So thank you for your question.
And the green? It's the green? No.
What can you tell us about the density legislation and how it would impact the Miracle Mile?
Okay, so I alluded to it earlier, but Miracle Mile, you guys are so well educated, you'll probably educate me on it. But it's about SB 827, which is Scott Wiener's Senate bill. He's a senator from Northern California who, and I want to first state, we do have a serious housing crisis in not just Los Angeles, but California. And honestly, 10 years ago, before population growth, we did not have enough housing to even house the existing population. But we have, it's an urbanization that's happening worldwide and everyone's moving into cities. And for Los Angeles, just last year alone, we had 46,000 net positive people moving into Los Angeles. So we can't even accommodate the existing population here, but we have more people moving in, and that's why we have a severe housing crisis, and that needs to be solved. And I am cognizant of that, but I am for appropriate, responsible development. Now, what SB 827, the spirit of 827 is good. They're saying we need more housing, we need to tackle this housing crisis. But they did it in a blanketed way. It's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And it basically says wherever there's a transit stop, could be a bus stop, not just rail, then in a certain radius, half-mile radius of a bus stop, the state supersedes all local zoning regulations and they could build, extra bonus density. So if you had a bus stop maybe once every, 50 miles or something, then I guess it'd be okay, right? But we've generated maps since then, but pretty much all of LA, all of Miracle Mile, everything that you guys fought for, the HPOZ becomes obsolete. Historic preservation becomes obsolete. Quite in fact, actually, if this law passes, we might as well just save some money and get rid of the whole planning department, because planning will no longer be controlled locally. So while I agree and see the need that we need housing, this SB 827 bill will pretty much decimate anything. There will be no local, it's not even local control, local say or local input. Because the state is saying, we don't care what you want, we just need to build. And I completely, fundamentally disagree with that, and all my colleagues disagree with that. And we don't need someone who doesn't even live in Los Angeles to tell us how we should do our business. That's why you elected me, because even within Council District 4, Miracle Mile has different needs than Los Feliz, or Sherman Oaks, or Toluca Lake, or the Hollywood Hills. And that's why on the ground, because I am familiar with these neighborhoods, I am able to apply and administer appropriate measures. So that's what 827 is. That's what we oppose. Yes?
We're going to get into that a little bit later. We actually have some PowerPoints. But I want to thank David, because it was David's resolution, seconded by Councilman Wesson, that went before the committee and will go to council be passed. So without David stepping up and putting the resolution, we would have nothing. So I want a hand of applause for Councilman.
And I just want to add, since then, luckily we put the brakes on it, and since then, the LA County Democratic Party, all the Affordable Housing Alliance and renters groups are all opposed to it. And the list is going on, and other cities are also joining on. Yes, in the blue?
Hi, yes, my name is Clark Bronstein. I'm on the Pico NC Neighborhood Council. And I understand the need that we need housing, but one of the issues that we've noticed lately is since the TOC guidelines went into effect, the number of developers who are contacting the community to discuss their building has basically dropped because they no longer need community input regarding the housing because it's by right under the TOC guidelines. So what steps do you think that you can do to help ensure that the community has a say when a developer is using the TOC guidelines that the city implemented? Because right now we feel as though our voices are being left out of the discussion.
So, I believe in shared power, and I really value community input, and I don't just say that, I actually make sure whenever a developer comes to my office, I always tell them, have you spoken to the community? And when I say community, I mean the entire community, not just MMRA, but every other, the affected neighbors, because they might not be part of any association. But if it's by right, even though it's by right, there are certain rules, and there's still site plan reviews, there's still things that must be done. And everybody knows in Council District 4, if they even want my support in anything, and usually, even though it's by right, because it's mixed use, they usually need something like a conditional use permit. Because if they have a restaurant there, they might want to sell beer or wine. So there's usually a little something where we could get involved. I'm not saying it's a lot like before, but there's still something, and I always look favorably towards developers who, even though they don't have to, go out in the community and try to make it right. And the good, responsible developers do that. Because I tell developers, do you want to be a one-shot wonder, maximize your profits, milk everything you can out of this and never ever build again? Because then people remember. The neighbors remember. And if they know you're coming back, they're going to try to gear up and fight you. So I want to say, there is a serious housing crisis here. We need to be able to build, but let's build in a responsible manner. Let's build in a manner where you talk with the community, see what their needs are, and have a little give and take, so that we can build it properly and tackle the issue while at the same time be sensitive to the community's needs. Yes?
Regarding that and the discussion about education, I think we've all experienced our own, not in my backyard, but I think with the crisis that we have now, we see popping up now, we don't want this property, even though the city owns it and can give it to affordable housing. And I think people have to be educated to just what services are going to be provided so that they feel safe and they don't feel that it's just rabble-rousing homeless, but people could be us next week. And I think that kind of prejudice is in some cases valid, in some cases very unwarranted, and goes along with our immigration problems. So how can we address that when there is land and then you don't want it to be built?
Thank you so much for that question. And I really appreciate that question. You're absolutely correct. Recently the City Council, we passed a resolution to say every council member, we are committed to building 222 units of permanent supportive housing in every district. I've committed to that, but honestly that's not enough. And when I say, and first off, this is where the education component happens. Nothing solves homelessness like a home. And there are 3 prongs to fully fixing homelessness. And it's a problem that happened, homelessness occurred over years and decades. We're not going to fix it overnight. And the 3 prongs is, first one is housing. Housing is first. Without housing, nothing else begins. Right. It's housing, then it's counseling, treatment, medication, and the 3rd prong is a job, a sense of worth, being reintegrated as being productive members of society. So those are the 3 prongs to tackle homelessness. Now, let me tell you how hard it is. It's not just permanent support. Permanent support, what people are scared of are board and cares, unregulated board and cares, which is under six beds. Because you as a homeowner have the right to have a roommate, to bring your cousin, to bring your niece to come live with you, up to 6. And after 6, then you have to require to get a board and care license with the state, and then you become regulated. Under 6, it's unregulated. And then sometimes there's sober living homes and all these facilities where it's unregulated. Some are good operators, others are not. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about permanent supportive housing, which is on-site resident coordinators on hand. You have social workers on hand. They are fully bussed in and out, or everything happens in a living environment, and it is beautiful places. So that's what we're talking about. But let me tell you how hard it is. I've recently been going out with our homeless outreach teams, our HOPE teams, which is police officers and social workers going out in the community and trying to, because a homeless encampment, everyone says, can you clean that up? And we try to do it all the time. But I got to tell you, when we clean it up, it basically moves across the street or down the block. Then it becomes your problem, and you complain, and then it moves over to your block. Well, we really need you to get to the root of the problem and get them services. But it is so hard to get them to get services. Because people say, Councilmember, why aren't you helping them? Because they're refusing services. It takes on average 10 outreach attempts to build a repertoire with Mary or Bob on the corner to get them to trust us. And once they trust us, maybe they'll come in for coffee, and that's where the discussion begins, and maybe they'll come in and get services. Now let me tell you something even more heinous. It's very hard to get them to come in services, but once in a while they do. There's one couple who's at a library, and this individual is a transsexual, and she said, yes, I'll come in. And we said, wow. But she said, under one condition. And I said, what's that? Because I'm a trans individual, and last time I was at a shelter, I was attacked. So I want to go to a permanent supportive housing, or at least some sort of step-down facility where myself and my partner could have a space of our own, because I'm afraid of our safety. Reasonable request. I want to come in. She also happened to be disabled on a wheelchair. The LASA van was preoccupied, so I even paid for a taxi, took her down to one of our social service providers. I could only stay with her for an hour because I had to leave, go to another meeting. I checked up again, see what happened. They worked with her for 4 hours to find placement. Could not find placement. Everywhere was full. Well, there was one all the way in Watts, but they didn't want to go there. Most homeless individuals, they're not from another neighborhood. Study after study proves that they are from the neighborhood that they lived in or most familiar with. And you got to understand, homeless individuals, they're not just some foreign person. They're somebody's brother, somebody's mother, somebody's child, and 9 times out of 10, there are people looking for them. They just don't want to be found. So these are literally our neighbors. And so with that attitude in mind, with that knowing that, this is when we say, You want me to get rid of the homeless encampment, you want me to tackle the problem. As proven, we can't arrest our way out of the problem because our jails are already overcrowded. And remember, the one thing about arresting him, if they do take services, the third prong, a job, now that you have an arrest record, you can't get a job.
Right.
I mean, so it's this vicious cycle. And that's why we need to put a stop to that, and it begins with housing, and I'm fully committed to that. So if there is a provider that comes into the neighborhood, I need your support. I am trying to build 2 major projects in our district in Hollywood. The LGBT Center, which will create 100 new beds for seniors and 100 beds for transitional age youth. That's on its way. There was some opposition to that. And recently I'm building 30 beds, bridge housing for women in Hollywood. An old library. Thank you for that. Half the community's in support, and I am so blessed. The apartment structure right next door to the old library, the landowner, she and 8 of her tenants signed a letter of support. Right? So it's changing. It's changing. Many people are coming out to support. So, but if something like that gets built here, or we find a location here, I need those applauses to actually become applauses still. Because I need your help, and I need your help, because I can't do this alone. I need the community support, because do you want them on the streets, or do you want them in proper housing? And it's about stemming this tide. And it's also, and that's why I'm saying it's not just permanent supportive housing, it's prevention of homelessness. Supporting domestic violence programs, supporting senior programs, supporting all of these other things, making sure senior fraud prevention is augmented. I mean, all these things need to go hand in hand. Sorry for the long answer. Yes?
Just a quick question. Just quick question down to basics. So when I'm walking at night, I live in the 800 block of Dunsmuir. I think just a few things right away. We need to light our houses more. We really, at night, look at half of our neighborhood, it's dark. And your houses, we need to light them. I mean, if you can't afford, a hard lighting, or maybe we could find an electrician that wants our entire area and wants to give us some package deals. But we really, really have to light our front doors and our sides. This is crazy. The houses are dark. They're very inviting at night, and they should be really well lit. And either you can afford a camera system or get a fake camera where it says, smile, you're on camera. But let's do that like immediately. I have it in my house. I've been fortunate not to have any break-ins so far, God knows. But except in my car, which was in my driveway. They did open my door and came in my car and took stuff.
Lock it next time.
Yes, a couple of things I want to say though. We just next door to us, not next door, but between the house next door to us, did have a break-in last Saturday night in the backyard. Now we both have gates, but those little walls between our gates? For someone to jump on and then jump over into each side, or I have a high gate, but if your neighbor has a low gate, they can still come in. So I don't know what we can do about those gates except have a lot of lights on them. And then does it mean that every block just has a quick text, like a group text, so the minute that we see something, we all can just notify?
That's Kari.
Yeah.
That's Kari.
You gotta come to the training. You just mentioned a lot of stuff that's gonna happen in the training. Kari's itching. She's excited.
I'll talk about it.
Yeah. So I just want to say 2 things to that. You're absolutely correct. But you know what? If a criminal is dead set on stealing something that they've seen, there's nothing you could do unless you put unless you're holding it 24/7, it's going to happen, right? So it's about making it as hard as possible. And it's been said, the more they know that this neighborhood is alert, they're just going to move on to the next neighborhood.
Does it happen more in the day or at night?
I don't have the LAPD stats with me today because the officer's not here, but I think it happens more in the daytime. But we could get those stats for you. But another thing is, when a crime occurs, and thank you for this reminder, please make the report.
Yeah.
Need you to make the report. I can't have, there was so many crimes happening. If it's not on the stats sheet, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And I need you to make the report, because when the watch commander is handing out assignments on figuring out which area needs an extra car patrol, he or she is going to look at the crime sheet for the previous month and make that recommendation based on the previous crime sheet. So you need to make that report, and true, I know a lot of complaints is, for a non-victim burglary, for a non-victim robbery or something like that, they don't respond right away, because actually you want them to respond to the violent, situations first. But this is where, again, if you do your neighborhood watch and get to know your senior lead officer, you just call your senior lead officer and they'll say, you know what, can I come out tomorrow or the day after? Next time I'm in the area, I'll come out. Because it doesn't have to be reported immediately 10 minutes after it happened. It just needs to be reported into the log. So if it's a victimless crime, but yes, it's going to take a little bit of time. You could go to the police station, make a report as well, or talk to your senior lead officer, and he or she could come out the next time they're around and make that report at your house. So this is where, that's the advantage of your neighborhood watch. That's the advantage of getting to know your senior lead officer. Who doesn't want to get to know the officer that patrols your area, right? So this is all good. I know it's a little bit proactive, but this is how you make it better. But please, please, please make that report. Great.
On the same subject of safety and security and neighborhoods and so forth, thank you, great. Councilmember Brew. I live right across the street from Cathedral Chapel, and I'm friends with a lot of those kids and parents and so forth, and they are concerned and asking questions about the safety of their children. Right now downtown there's a march about so forth and so on. So without getting into politics, I'm wondering if CD4 could have essentially be like an open call or an open avenue towards knowing in CD4 that people could come to you, perhaps other school administrators who are possibly dealing with the same questions, whether it be public school, private school, elementary, high school, JC, to maybe have CD sponsor a coordinated open call discussion on children's safety.
I'm more than willing, and not just myself, I'm sure the school board member would love to come as well. I believe the school board member for this area is, George McKenna. I think it's George McKenna or it's either Nick Melvoin, and I work with both of them very closely. Nick actually is my partner on LAUSD for the children's savings accounts, but yes, any school that wants to do that, I just went to John Burroughs yesterday to go speak to the students. So yes, anytime, open call, of course.
Just with regard to Senate Bill 827, I don't know if you know that Scott Wiener gets 41% of his contributions to his campaign from the real estate industry, and that the worst part of SB 827, which I discovered while going through the Crenshaw subway station where they want to build a mall and destroy the neighborhood, is they're projecting putting up 7-story buildings with no requirement for parking.
Right. And actually, Jim is going to go over everything in detail right after my presentation.
After yours, and I'll let Kari, and then I'll...
Yeah.
I think we should probably let David go, maybe take one or two.
Yeah, well, 2 more questions right here. Yeah.
Hi. So speaking about the education, you had mentioned about opening community centers at the schools, having them open later, and having a park or whatever. But what about... So I'm just wondering about the child predators. I mean, there's the Megan's Law, and you look at it and you see all the different people in certain areas. I mean, how will they be, or will they be able to be policed, or the children be safe if it's open?
That's why it's never been done before, and that's where all of our lawyers are duking it out with each other to figure out how that's all going to be resolved. And it's not just that issue, it's not just a public safety issue, but it's also janitorial services, who's going to clean up, liability issues, what if someone gets injured on the lot, whose liability is it? So that's all the issues that we're working through. But you know what, I don't want to live in a community of fear. There's enough things to be scared about, but it's not about a community of fear, because honestly, Miracle Mile is a great place to live. Yes, we do have incidents, but you know what? I want to focus on the positive, and I want to make sure our community is livable. And honestly, whether the kids are playing in your front lawn, in the sidewalk or the streets, or behind a gate in a school lot, it's the same. And I want to make sure that they actually have an ability to have possibly a basketball court, a grassy area, a track, something where not just the kids, but community members have a place to walk, so they don't have to walk just around the streets. I don't want to bring up cut-through traffic and all this speeding and all these issues. I want to build more pocket parks everywhere. Not just pocket parks, I want to build more parks. We are park poor in the city of LA. But the reality of, the city or some benevolent developer buying a piece of property and saying, you know what, I'm going to build a park here for you guys, isn't going to happen. So that's why any space that we have, I mean, it's a travesty when you drive by these schools in the evenings and weekends when it's just all locked up. I remember when I was a kid, I used to climb over the gate and play in there anyways. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. but I mean, it's...
But is there going to be supervision?
So that's what we're working out, and that's what, thanks to Measure A and the money, we are going to work those issues out. Because of liability issues, they probably will, and that's what we're working on the details right now.
Maybe one more.
Yeah.
Okay. We spoke about this some months ago. A house behind me was recently demolished, though actually what they had was permission for a remodel. That allowed them to take everything down but for one small wall, which was then replaced at the end when they built the rest of the house. This is a huge loophole. They didn't have permission to demolish, but in effect they did. You talked about closing that loophole. Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah, there's been so many, and then that is, and what he's talking about is you could apply for a remodeling permit, and as long as you have one retaining wall, and then sometimes a pillar, that's considered a remodel. And then and what many heinous developers do is once they build around it, then they demolish that wall too, because now you have another wall, right? And then so it's basically a remodel. And actually, there's a famous case, the Spaghetti Factory building. Well, they were sued for various reasons because they demolished a historic building as well. But they did that exact very thing, and the judge ruled against them and evicted everybody who was living there, and made them pay more penalties. But yes, that's an issue on my roster to tackle. Where we've been battling all the other different issues like haul routes, the BMO, the BH, the baseline mansionization ordinance, the hillside ordinance, the special R1 zonings to make it even more restrictive, HPOZs. I mean, we've been tackling all these other issues. That issue I haven't had enough support for on the City Council because unfortunately, unlike what you think, yes, I'm the council member for Council District 4, but I don't have a magic wand where I could do whatever I want. And for many citywide policy issues like the one about redefining remodeling, it requires 8 votes, sometimes 10 votes, and 12 votes to override a mayor's veto. So I don't have that support yet, but that is one of the issues we're tackling. But when it comes to like paper streets notifications, LLC, we're going after LLCs to figure out who owns the property. I mean, there's so many things on my roster, and that is on it, and we're working through that.
The lady in the red that had her hand up.
That's what
Councilmember, I just wanted to thank you and also Jim for helping to push through the sidewalk repair at Ethan Spalding. You live in the condo there. It's going great. I have a question about the new trash pickup issue. We're having a lot of problems getting Athens to even return our calls about setting up a specific schedule. We don't even know when they're coming, and then they come like 6, 7 in the morning or before 6, and they leave the bins out on the street for hours until the afternoon, so that we just get trash being thrown down on the ground because people drop their trash, they don't leave stuff. And we keep calling, emailing, and we can't get anyone to return.
So Rob?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So do we have?
We can speak. We have a contact there, and I'll be able to help out. I've been working on it.
And we've also had many of the trash companies come to our office because we wanted them to meet constituents who have problems in our office. So we did a whole round of that too as well, but then Rob could follow up with you on that to try to address your issue. The sanitation department, the City of LA sanitation department has a hotline number, and they have taken upon themselves where if that's rampant like that, the City of LA will pick it up and then charge Athens. So there's other recourses that we have. So Rob can follow up with you on that. Okay?
David, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really want to get the safety, hold on. A mass accident, all right. I'm gonna bring the safety committee back up. I'll talk about SB 827 after that. But if you don't have time, and as you're walking out the door, go to change.org and just look up 827, SB 827. There is a petition up there on change.org. Was it change.org? Yeah. And I'll have that in a minute and put up some stuff. But I really want, this is about safety. I want Kari to be able to finish it.
All right, so we've had a few minutes for you guys to think. And you all heard it. Well, few heard it, that Councilmember Rue said that anything we want he'll have for us, and we're asking for some funds, for some signs. That's another thing I want to talk about. I have someone who needs to come up and speak to you. By the way, the people that had to leave were the 34% that forgot to lock their doors. Ouch. So thank you, and they also signed up for patrol on their way out, so thumbs up to those people. Awesome for doing their job. I'd like to bring ADT patrol up here. Mario Escobar, will you please come forward? Thank you for being patient and waiting. Mario, thank you so much. And after this, no one else is allowed to leave, by the way, but because I got your names, and they might be block captains. Thank you so much, Mario.
Thank you. How you doing? My name is Mario Escobar. I've been in the industry for 21 years. I was told in the back, make it short and sweet, so I'm gonna make it as fast as I can. Oh, sorry. I'm so loud, so I learned not to do this. So the way it works with us is we are the biggest in the industry. All our competitors combined makes our patrol company. All the difference between us and all our competitors is that every single car that responds to an alarm signal or a phone call are armed officers. We do not send unarmed officers just to stop the clock. We don't want to give you fast response time, and the car is just going to sit there and wait till an armed officer gets there. We don't need an observe and report. We got cameras and technology and a great neighborhood watch like you, which is amazing. I've been doing this for 21 years, like I said earlier. I've never heard 27 good block captains. I mean, that's like it actually left me speechless when I saw that up on the board. On that note, we also have the ability to have, if you are an alarm customer, we have this new app that we have what's called ADT Go. On this ADT Go, what helps you is, if you're an alarm customer, I am registered now, and it shows me where I'm at. So if I have an emergency that I happen to say live in your neighborhood, and I'm walking and I see something out of the ordinary, I feel that my life is in danger, I just hit the SOS, I hold it for 3 seconds to avoid any false alarms, and that will pinpoint where I'm at, and we will dispatch PD to help you. So that's what we're doing now. We do not feel that we want to sell you anymore like everybody else is trying to sell everything over the phone, including us. But we now want to go that extra mile to show you that we do care. And for all our customers, what we're doing is we're offering that service for free to the end of this month. We are also for Miracle Mile. We are giving 2 months free for any customer that signs up before the end of the month for our patrol service. And of course, any of this information you want to talk about, we are in the back, hopefully we can talk to you after that. The main thing is, these are the flyers that we have in the back. Gives you all the information of how our services work. Forget how many cars we have. Forget that we have the most cars. All that matters today is Miracle Mile. All we need to tell you is that we have 3 times the amount of more cars surrounding your area that can respond to you versus all our competitors combined. We do not pull out the car from this area. We do not send you unarmed vehicles. And like I said, my dedication right now is this HOA. If I have to be pulled somewhere else, I'm still coming back here. That doesn't mean I don't care what other areas need to be built. I build it as much as I can spread out. But this is where we're at now. So as you can see, I'm a huge pet lover. In 21 years, I've never broken a bone until Monday the 5th. And I've never, ever gotten bit by a dog, and I'm still going to keep that tradition alive. But unfortunately, that dog didn't like my In-N-Out breath, I guess. I don't know what I ate. But he sure almost had me, but I just broke 2 bones now too, so forgive me that I'm holding this in an awkward way. The main thing is thank you for having us. We do really appreciate it. And like I said, ADT is the name you know, but at the end of the day, what's important is is having your eyes and ears. Without the eyes and ears, everything that was discussed today, that's huge. Some block captains that I've had the opportunity to talk to will tell you that the good thing about me is you have a question, text me, email me. I don't care if my wife gets mad. I don't care if my kids get mad. I have to be able to answer you after 5 o'clock. Some of us don't work 9 to 5, and there has to be somebody. You could call ADT for 24/7, but you can also shoot me a quick text. You can shoot me a quick email, and I respond quick, right? I do. So thank you so much for your time. Yes, thank you.
Yes, could you respond quickly?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so that's one thing about me. Maybe that's why I'm bald. I don't care because I have to make sure I'm there to answer whatever I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mario. I was going to say that he tackled a trespasser, and that's how he broke his arm, but he gave away the story. So I'm all done, but here's really quick. I know Jim wants to talk, and in review, we do have a Miracle Mile Neighborhood Watch. It's a 3-step, 3-part process. I need block captains. Now we're at, 100 or some odd people here right now. There are probably, 4,000 or 5,000 Miracle Mile. So this is great, thank you, but I need you to spread the word, and we are going to continue this until we have 100% block captains that have all met with their block. It comes down to the block level to educate everybody on the block. So I ask for your support, I ask for your involvement, and those block captains will be given an Eventbrite invitation for the workshop, and you will be, as a neighbor, looking out for that invitation to come for the backyard party. Not party, but that might happen too. Backyard meeting to make your block safer. Please take this seriously. I have, my committee has. I thank the MMRA for allowing us to do what we've done, and now I'm asking for your support. It's on you. It's on Miracle Mile to do something different. I'm also working with Tammy Rosado, who was here earlier, and LAPD. You will see changes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kari. Just very quickly on SBA 27, I'm actually working with people all over California because there are 92 cities right now that have taken a position against it. I love ex-supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky, who has said, well, there's this thing, whether we're NIMBYs, not in my backyard, in this group, YIMBYs, yes, in my backyard. And Yaroslavsky said, no, it's WIMBYs, Wall Street in my backyard. That's what's pushing this. It is money, it is banks. There's a lot of money that wants to open up. But for us, I think the important thing to know, I can get into the weeds, and some of my colleagues are, but for me it boils down to local, democratically controlled decisions. We do not want Sacramento saying one size fits all, it's top-down legislation, and that you have no say over what goes into your neighborhood. You should have a say. You could decide that you want nothing but 12-story buildings. That's your choice. And there is a process where we come together. This is one of the things. Basically, within a quarter mile of any transit stop, you can go up to have a building that's 85 feet tall. If you then use SB 1818 on top of it, you get another 11 feet. This right here is, I think, it's a picture of like a 55-foot building. In all of the residential areas, I think what caught everybody's attention was not just because we're in HBOZ, but David talked about all the R1, R2, RG neighborhoods, the neighborhoods around us, which didn't want to be HBOZ, and they wanted to be this different designation, R1, R2, RG, which put some controls over how big the buildings would be, et cetera, et cetera. This blows everything out. It does not allow for design standards. It doesn't allow for building standards. And in your R1 neighborhood, your single-family neighborhood, you can have a 55-foot building next to you that can have 6, 8, 10, however many residential, units that can get into it. And if you look at the Miracle Mile was laid out great all those years ago. We have streets that are designed that are R1, R2, which is, duplexes, and R3s, which are multifamily. We're a great neighborhood. If you really look at what we have, we're 60%, I believe, rental in the Miracle Mile.
That's fine.
And no one can point a finger at us really in terms of the buildings that were put in. We've approved about 25, we've been involved with about 2,500 units going into the Miracle Mile in the last 10 years. And we've had great developers come in that have wanted to work with us, work with the Chamber, work with the Civic Coalition. And generally speaking, you know, they come in and say, what do you need? And we've always taken the position to try to get what is best for the community and what's best for the developer. Because they're putting their money in and they're building something. And we do need more housing. That's true. The problem with SB 827 is it doesn't mandate any low-income housing or workforce housing. Police, fire, nurses, it's all market rate. And if you really think about it, you can't mandate that somebody's going to come in, buy a piece of property, and build 100 units, 200 units, and say to him or her, half of those have to be low income. They're going to say, I'm not going to build. You can give them enticements and say, we'll give you another story over what you're allowed by right if you put in a percentage of low-income housing. And that has worked in some places. Unfortunately, the laws that they've come up with in California, that's come out of Sacramento, basically says, and I think this last JJJ is the same thing, we'll get more affordable housing in there. Except that if I'm a developer, I have the right. I buy it, I say, okay, I want, I'll do 15% affordable. I do not have to build them in that building. I can find a spot off space, off site and build, or I can put money into a fund. And those units will never get built because then you're looking for looking for land to buy. Hopefully at some point California will come up with a way that the cities and the states can come together and have funds where they can take, cities own a lot of property. They could literally take their properties and put in market rate, put in low income housing. So, as I said, all of these cities are opposing it. David stepped up quick. I was thrilled to see that, as did Council President Wesson. But from their point of view, he's right. David's right. We might as well do away with our planning department. And for them, and David does not take developer money, just so everyone understands that. He ran on that and he has never taken developer money. And if he meets with the developer, he posts it on his website. That was a pledge that he made. He is, as far as I know, the only council person that doesn't take developer money. And so they don't want to see this come in, the other council members, because if you can build whatever you want, then they don't need the council people. They don't even need the mayor. They just do it. So this is not about infringing this. We do need more housing, but for what we need is low-income housing, and we need market rate housing. I mean, that's the reality. I've run graphs and gone back to 1950 and looked at the ratio between units and people. And it's supposed to break down, it's 2.1, 2.6, whatever it is, units, people per unit. We've actually gotten better since 1950. If I look at all of the cities from 1950 up through the last census, 2010, we're still building the percentage of units that we did in 1950, actually a little bit more. So one of the big issues is if a tech company wants to come into your neighborhood, as they did up north, and that's where this all started. If you look at the Apple spaceship or the Google campus or the Facebook campus, they come in and they build these huge campuses. And there's no housing on them. So the tech workers they need come in and they're going, okay, fine, I want to work, I want to make this money, where am I living? So they gobble up whatever they can. They go live wherever they can. But then it starts pushing the people out who've been there for 30 years. And gentrification starts happening. And unfortunately, gentrification leads to people being pushed out of their neighborhoods, eventually pushed out of their homes, and leads to homelessness. And there's all kinds of arguments, and I don't really want to get into it. What I want is for us as a community, and for every community to have the right to say, we want a voice in how our neighborhood should be. We've lived here for 20, 30 years, 10 years, 5 years, doesn't matter, we just moved here. But we want a voice in what our neighborhood looks like. What kind of stores come in here, what kind of restaurants come in here, what we have. And we have that right. And Sacramento should not be saying, well, we need housing, so forget about it. The irony is, I don't know how many of you voted for the transportation measure that went in, that is raising our taxes for the next 50, 60 years. Think about this. Sacramento put those propositions out there. Enough people voted for it, over 60% voted for it, so that money's there. And then what they did is, wherever there is transportation, they tied housing to it. Now, I don't know if they had that plan all along, but I think if they'd have told us all, by the way, we're gonna fund more buses, we're gonna fund more subways, and anything that's around there for half a mile, you're gonna lose your control over what your neighborhood looks like. So, I don't really think I have to say a whole lot more about it. Go to change.org. There is a petition on there. I think we'll be writing an article in the newsletter probably in the month when this comes out. And we'll have some links in it telling you a little bit more about it and a link to the petition. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say. I mean, you're a great neighborhood. I've been blessed to live here since 1987, and one of the arguments that some of the people who really want to do away with the zoning is they blame people like us who've been living in a neighborhood for 30 years, that we were lucky, we got in when the going was good. Well, in 1987, I had an ARM, and it went up to 12.5%. It was not, that adjustable mortgage was not easy to keep. I know a lot of you in this room who bought and struggled to be able to keep the homes. There are people in this room that lost homes because they couldn't keep up with it. So it wasn't that we were lucky that we came in. We did what everyone else needs to do. And I think as a community, we are really prepared to have an open discussion about these kinds of things. And I know the councilman is too. And I know Council President Wesson is also. And Liz, I don't know if you're here, I really wanted to thank Councilman Wesson, Council President Wesson, because if he hadn't seconded that resolution, I'm not sure where it would have gone. And he stepped up and wrote a letter to the Democratic Club of Los Angeles and said, please oppose this. We need to have a discussion about it. And Council President Wesson, he deserves a round of applause. So Liz, if you're here, this is for Councilman Wesson. Can we give him a round of applause? It's been a long meeting. It's been a great meeting. I'll put up stuff on our website about 827. But when you leave here, just go to change.org, type in SB 827, sign the petition. The great thing about the change.org petition is they set it up in a way that if you sign it, it goes to every member at Sacramento. And that's hard to do. I believe Richard Bloom, who's our assembly member, has already said no, he will not support 827, but give that a shot. And you know what? I want to thank Kari and all of her group, and our videographer over there.
Yeah.
And all of the members that showed up to help put this on, but most importantly, to you, to the community that shows up year in and year out and supports us and supports yourself. Thank you so much.